What if the biggest change happening in the world right now isn't a war, a market crash, or a political shift, but a change in how much we're suddenly able to see? Today, I want to talk about awareness in uncertain times.
¿Estás escuchando?
And now, music.
TIK Radio.
Hi, I'm Mónica Susana, and this is TIK Radio. I want to start with something many of you have probably felt lately. You open your phone, and within 5 minutes, you see tension between countries, financial markets moving up and down, energy conflicts, artificial intelligence changing entire countries and industries, all in the same feed. And what's interesting is that most of us receive all this information without context. So today I want to do something a little bit different. I would like to see if I can give you a point of reference. So instead of reacting to the news, I want to slow down and think about it.
Hello?
Mónica Susana.
Hello?
TIK Radio.
And let me start with the question I asked myself recently. What is actually happening on the global chessboard? Because if you only follow the headlines, it could feel like everything is exploding at the same time. When you slow down and you look more carefully, patterns start to appear. Now, one of those patterns almost always leads back to the same thing: energy. And when people hear about tensions in the Middle East, many assume it's a religion or a regional issue. But it really isn't. And here's the key question: why does something happening in that region affect gasoline prices or inflation in other parts of the world? The answer is fairly simple: energy infrastructure. And a significant portion of the world's oil supply moves through strategic routes like the Strait of Hormuz. So that means any tension in that region can ripple through the entire global economy. Energy prices rise, transportation costs increase, and eventually, those pressures show up as an inflation. So here's the first question I would like you to think about. How much of the global economy is actually connected to energy security? And when energy becomes uncertain, financial markets tend to react immediately. Recently, there was an interesting development involving one of the largest investment firms in the world, BlackRock. Temporarily limited withdrawals from one of its large private credit funds after investors requested more redemptions that the fund typically allows within a single quarter. Now, this does not mean the fund is collapsing. What it reflects is something technical in finance called liquidity mismatch. Many private credit funds invest in loans that cannot be quickly sold. So when many investors request withdrawals at the same time, the fund has limits on how much capital can leave at once. Now, the key point here isn't the event itself. It's what it may signal. Investors' sentiment appears to be becoming more cautious in an increasingly uncertain global environment. Now, this leads to my second question. So when investors begin asking for liquidity at the same time, what might they be seeing that the rest of the market hasn't fully recognized yet? And this is where the analysis becomes even more interesting, because we might not actually be witnessing traditional wars anymore. Many geopolitical analysts argue that we are entering a different phase, what they call hybrid conflict, where the power is not measured only in armies, it's also measured in economy leverage and energy control, information, technology. And the competition nations now happens in markets and supply chains and digital infrastructure, just as much as on traditional battlefields. So here's another question to consider. Are we witnessing traditional wars or the emergence of something fundamental different? And, while all of this is unfolding around the world, we experience it through our phones in real time. And here's something that almost nobody talks about it. It's not only that many things are happening, it's that we are seeing too many things at once. Never before in human history have people consumed this much global information every single day. Wow. Which raises another important question. Are we actually living through more crises? Or are we simply the first generation able to see the entire planet, the planet challenges at the same time? This has consequences, not only political or economic consequences, human ones. According to the World Health Organization, nearly 1 billion people globally live with some form of mental health condition. Anxiety has become one of the defining features of modern life. Part of that anxiety may come from something very new in human history. Constant exposure to global uncertainty. And, talking about mental health, and I want to quickly thank BetterHelp for sponsoring and supporting this episode. If you ever thought about speaking with a professional about stress, anxiety, or simply organizing your thoughts, you can find more information in the link included with this episode, so you can get a discount. And now let's go to the next question that, it's gonna become less geopolitical, but it's gonna go towards more personal. How do we navigate a world that seems to move this fast? Because while systems are changing, we still have the ability, yes, we have the ability to choose how we respond to them. So here's another question I'll leave you with today. Are we living in more unstable times? Or are we simply becoming more aware of how the world actually works? Very interesting, right? And the final and the most important of all questions in a world that moves faster every year, will the real advantage belong to those who react the fastest or to those who understand the system more clearly? Sometimes it feels like the world is becoming more chaotic, but often what is really happening is something different. The system that shape our lives are becoming more visible. All the systems, economics, technology, information. And in the middle of all that noise, there's still something deeply human. The ability to pause, to think, to ask better questions. Because perhaps the most important skill in uncertain times is not predicting the future. It's learning how to observe the present clearly. Thank you for listening to TIK Radio. I'm Mónica Susana, and I will see you in the next episode.
Welcome to TIK Radio. Hey TIK Radio community, today's episode is proudly sponsored by BetterHelp. Because taking care of your mental health is just important as hitting the gym. Starting therapy can be challenging, and that's why BetterHelp is here to make it easier for you. Whether you prefer phone calls, video chats, or messaging, BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist tailored to your comfort. With over 30,000 therapists in their network, you'll have access to a diverse range of expertise right at your fingertips. Just fill out a quick questionnaire, and in most cases, you'll be matched with your therapist within 48 hours. And what's great? Well, you can schedule sessions at your convenience, and if your first match doesn't feel quite right, no worries. Switch to a new therapist and no additional cost. Join the 4 million people who've taken a step towards a healthier, happier life with BetterHelp. Visit www.betterhelp.com/TIK Radio. And as a special offer for our TIK Radio listeners, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy. Remember, your mental well-being matters. Thanks to BetterHelp for supporting TIK Radio and Mental Matter on TIK Radio. Bye-bye. And until the next live, TIK Radio.